corporation taking over an IP, just like Jenna Ortega taking over Wednesday, and now she's kind of, it sounds like steering the ship, which is wild to me, but that's what happens sometimes for lead actors. But Jenna Ortega doing an interview about Wednesday season 2. And apparently the big thing she wanted was to ditch the love story. She's like, she doesn't need to be falling in love. We need to lean into the horror. And that's what they're gonna do. And apparently, when they were on set, they had little meetings all the time where they would get together and they decide like what's good, what doesn't work, what works, what doesn't work. And they go back and forth about it, and they collaborated the whole time. So she said because that worked so well in the first season, they're doing it early now before season 2 comes out, and they've been having early discussions about where the character goes. And the big thing for her is she's like, we need to ditch this love thing. We need to lean into the horror, and no one wants to see that we got vampires and werewolves and all that. And me, I'm like, most shows that do well lean into the love stuff too with the werewolves. Look at Twilight. Look at like the werewolves and stuff. Look how well that did when there's love stuff happening. So I don't know if she's a little bit off on this. She might be, she might not be. But again, they listened to her. She's a producer this season, so we're gonna see what happens. With the first season did so well. And she's involved with everything this next season. She's saying she's gonna get involved with the characters, new characters. She wants to know who's coming in. She wants to know about the new outfits, wardrobe. She wants to know about all the plot points coming. She wants to know about everything, the scripts. She wants to see everything and be involved in every aspect. And my question is, going to everybody, is that a good thing though? Should the actor be that involved with the whole process? I like the idea of going more horror. The first season did really good though, and I thought it worked well with having the love kind of triangle thing they had going on. I think it worked. So should we just shoot that aside? It worked already. Should we just get rid of that? Or should we like keep working with what works and keep moving with that? That's the question.
It worked. It worked because that was basically the one of them was the villain. So like it
That's
worked
true.
because it had to work. The way that they set it up, it's like, oh, you would never think it was one of these people that care for her. You know what I mean? And it was like a bit of a twist. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it was
100%.
very successful. You know what I mean? I don't think a lot of people would be like, oh, it's one of these. But even though they played it to be the one guy, it turned out to be the other guy. Like, I mean, you could astutely kind of see it coming. However,
Oh yeah.
I think that the reason why they did that, and also very brilliant on their part, the Christina Ricci twist as well.
Oh yeah, it was great.
So I feel like that all came together quite well, and it was partially because of her lovely disposition. Not Wednesday, obviously, Christina Ricci, and also the love triangle. So like I just feel like if you are, I mean, if you're gonna go in without that, I kind of would want you to, because you can't replay the same theme twice. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I feel
you gotta change it up.
if that other guy is still going to be at school, like the one that you went to school with that wasn't part of it, maybe there is some tension there that I think that they should definitely play off of. If he is not there, if he graduated or whatever the situation is, then I say it's fine to not do that, because you don't want to play the same theme twice.
It's true. I mean, that's the whole thing, though, too. It's a new season, it's a new day, it's a new world for this. You want to continue on, keep it fresh, so changes have to happen. Always. And that's what an actor always says when they sign on, like, how is it different from the next season? Like, how do we make this work? How do we keep the audience coming back? So it is good in one aspect that she's coming back to do this, but it's also like, there's been a lot of controversy. That's I just put it out there. But a lot of controversy about how involved she's been. So Lexi, what do you think? Do you think that it's good that she's this involved? Do you think it's good they're leaning towards the horror, or should they let the writers, who are striking, find their best story and let the actors act? That's the question at hand.
Um, well, I know I never watched the first season of this. Actually,
You gotta see it. It's kind of fun.
I didn't want to.
I didn't either. I didn't either, but I was forced to, and it really was not terrible. I actually enjoyed it.
I just like kind of like I was like I just can't. Like I was like
That's what I was like too.
I feel like I'm the Sabrina in this one. Like I was like I just am not doing this one. Like it just it was like
It wasn't
Tim
good.
Burton's involved, and I was like, of course he's involved. Like I was like whatever. Like I'm so
It's
tired
very
of
Tim
going
Burton.
back to the same shit and all that kind of stuff. And I know Christina Ricci's there, and I love Christina Ricci and all that kind of stuff. But
She's great.
regardless of that, I have actually watched a lot of the stuff about Ortega recently. Like she's been coming up nonstop in my feed about like her behavior, and like writers are really mad at her. And I know that people in the industry are like saying like they're not appreciative of her behavior and like the way that she's talking and stepping over like lines, as like writers are like, you don't get to come in and like take over the way that you are, you don't get to like say this. And she's like, well, I don't think that's fair, like as the character, like why do you get to say like what my character says when I'm playing the character, and why do you get to like so there's this like back and
There's this
forth between the
divide.
actors. And so this season she's coming in like as a producer,
Yeah.
and she's having a very large producer role, and she's taking
Huge.
on like a very large part. And she believes very highly in that she knows better for the character, and that she thinks that she knows best for the character. And if Burton believes in her, which from what I understand,
It
Burton
seems
has
like he
been
does.
listening and
He's
has been
bringing her into
talking,
Beetlejuice
and
as well, you know?
that's what I've been hearing from like her mouth and what have you, is, and from other sources, that Burton is kind of like, yeah, she's got this, kind of like let her do her thing. And if that kind of person has that kind of thought process, then I guess let her do it, kind of thing, and
Yeah.
see where it
I
takes
mean,
her, kind of thing.
it's just one of those things
That
though. She's young and she's a great job
that
in
being
this show, but
said,
for me,
I will say Burton is not known for always knowing what's best when working with women. Just saying. Like, not genuinely like 50-50. Like, I know that sounded like sexist, but like it's true. Like he's like sometimes, but not always.
yeah. Well, for me, Lexi, I'm just like I'm very torn because like some being an actor too, it's like and being a producer, so putting both hats on. Like I see both sides of it.
Yeah,
I do, I see both sides, but a part of me is always like, "What are you doing, girl?" Sometimes, like, what are you doing? Like, there's levels, there's a
she's
hierarchy here. Like, there's
she's
so much you can
quite
say.
young, so
Yes,
I do feel like she should listen a little. And I've
yeah,
always said
but
that. Like I'm always someone who believes like, and I thought when I was young, I did when I was young. I was like, you should always listen to older people to an extent. Like know when they're idiots. Like obviously there's a point when you don't like I know when something better, but there are people who are older and have been around the block a few times, and it's like I do have some advice. I do have some things you can
I have some
share
ideas
with
here I can be
someone.
doing.
Yeah, or like some things like you probably shouldn't do that. It
I
won't
feel
work
like
out.
I
Like,
feel like when I was younger, I thought I knew everything, and I thought that
right,
everyone else
exactly.
should kindly go fuck themselves because I was correct. And that is definitely not the right point of view to take.
That
I
was
just
right.
will point out that she was on You, that the third season or the second season of You. I can't remember which one. But like, she was a theme throughout the series. She's done a lot for her age, you know what I mean? And she's
Oh yeah.
super in demand right now. And I don't agree with like people having attitude about like a character, especially like being super, if you're like Michael Keaton and you're like, I don't think that this person would say this.
That
I
Batman would say this.
totally get that, dude. You played Batman in the 80s and you're back now. Like I totally get that. I do think that there is like some sort of a conversation where you can be like, I'm not super comfortable with this line. Can I just say it this way? Like it's the same line, but just a different delivery or a different wordage, or you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Whatever.
Interpretation of
And
it.
I'm totally fine with that. But like to be digging your heels in and like have a hard stand on something, I feel like is really difficult to have when you're so young, even though you've worked quite a bit, and she has worked quite a bit. And she is definitely doing pretty good, Chris. I totally agree with you. The thing is like they're like writers on the line on the picket lines had signs that
Oh,
were like,
there. Oh,
Jenna, why aren't you out here punching up our dialogue means you're a writer. You should be out here
Right,
protesting with us. Like things
right.
like
yeah.
that. So it obviously came
That's
to a
whew.
contentious point on set where they're saying things like this, like out on the line,
Right.
while they're picketing. So I'm kind of torn. Like I appreciate her
I
wanting to
am.
do right to a character that is infamous and that will never die and that is well known in many ways and wanting to do that character justice. I totally get that as an actor. At the same time, as a producer and a writer and someone like on set in a different capacity is like this is
It's tough.
not it's not your show 100%. I know it's your character and I want you to play this character, but like we all have to work together. So like I feel like there's a fine line, and like I think by making her a producer, that gives her a little bit more ability to get what she wants in there. Yeah, which is fine to an extent. And like I understand if you want to like shift a couple things. Like I get it. I get it.
It's
I'm
one
just
thing.
saying, like, I want everyone to be able to work harmoniously, and I hope that giving her this button is not gonna make things worse on set. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Hopefully she gets it. The process, there's a process. There's always a process on set. And you can't stop that in a way. There's people that do their job for a reason. And so I've seen it all the time on set where actors like overstep a little bit. And I get it. It's your character. It's your life you're living at that time. There's stuff you're thinking. I understand it 100%. And the show did really well. But it didn't only do well because of you. There's a lot of people that go into that. And that's, I always say, actors are never the end all be all to why it's successful. They never are. Never are. They're a big part of it, but never the big.
I worked on a show where an actor was like, I don't want to say these lines. And then like we had to take an hour and a half or 2 hour break midday while they went into the writer's room and figured it out. You know what I mean? Like and it's like, did you not get the script before? Could you not raise this question with someone at some point somewhere else? You know what I mean? Like these things happen.
If I was a creator or a writer of something, like if it was my thing that I made,
like your baby,
and I hired an actor, and the actor was who I wanted to play the character, but it was my character. And there's a point with it where they're like, no, I think the character should go this way. And I'm like, no, fucker, it's my character. Like,
this is my character.
You know what I'm saying?
This is my story.
Yep.
Like there's a point with it where like, if I believe in the actor and I believe in the actor's ability to carry the character to an extent, I'll be like, okay, I can let you freeform here and there where I think that you have the ability to. But I believe in the extent, like, it's still my story and I want it to flow this way and that you need to listen to me. So, like, there is that kind of, like, I don't like an actor coming in and going, well, this is how the show's going to go from now on. And I'm like, if the show had a very open, free-form kind of format where it seems like this one might, because I don't know if they really had like a super strong, like, we're gonna make a show about Wednesday Addams, and they're like, what's it about? I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go.
Well, yeah,
and that seems like really what they've got going on. And if that's really what they're going on, and their focus was on like, how do we focus a show around Wednesday Addams? And so she's like, well, I don't think you guys are developing the character right. I think we should develop the character this way. Then that's a little bit more fair. But, like, you can't really talk to the creator. He's dead. So, I mean, you can't really get a really good idea on what his idea of what that character was. True. And so you're kind of...
There is at least a lot of material to draw from.
There's
what
a lot.
Doing is you're building Gen Z's version of Wednesday Addams.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is, like, no, this is Wednesday Addams for Gen Z. And I'm like, well, the Wednesday Addams you're based on is technically a millennial one, so you know it's completely different technically if you want to base it on what she grew up as.
Right.
She grew up in like the 90s, so I mean,
yeah, and that's
just
the thing,
like
though. Is it the 90s in the show? It's not, right? It's present day in the show.
It's present day, yeah.
But if you're
which is weird
on the
you're correct.
I'm just saying.
You're 100% correct. I'm just saying, like, that's, you know, it was like, it's like one of those questions. Is Napoleon Dynamite actually set in the 80s, or is it just the 80s for them?